In the vast expanse of the cosmos, where fate often wields a sardonic wit, a noblewoman of extraterrestrial lineage found herself ensnared in chains, her spirit fractured and tears flowing freely, convinced that despair was her eternal companion, until an unforeseen earthborn savior altered her destiny irrevocably. The galaxy delights in its ironic twists. One instant you are the cherished offspring of an influential archduke. The next you are mere chattel in a galactic accord for tranquility. Such were the ruminations of Elara Vossari, as she gazed upon her likeness in the gleaming alloy partition of the interstellar conveyance. Her cerulean epidermis appeared more ashen than customary, nearly ethereal beneath the unforgiving illumination. Her lustrous platinum tresses, once a source of vanity, now cascaded like a burdensome veil over her drooping form. The ornate attire imposed upon her, a ludicrous assemblage of iridescent material that adhered to her contours while paradoxically heightening her vulnerability, served as yet another emblem of her diminished station, an object devoid of autonomy. "Erect your posture, Duchess Vossari," admonished Overseer Thalira, her fist rapping sharply against the barrier near Elara's temple. A prospective imperial spouse does not indulge in indolence. Elara suppressed the acerbic rejoinder simmering within her. What significance did her carriage hold? The sovereign of Zorath had not selected her for her poise. He had chosen her because her patriarch commanded the most prosperous mineral repositories in the Orion Quadrant, and matrimonial alliance proved more economical than conquest. "Affirmative, Overseer," she intoned softly, compelling her vertebrae into the unyielding stance ingrained in her over the preceding trimester at the Perimeter Enclave. The Perimeter Enclave, even the designation, was a fabrication. It was no periphery sanctuary. It was an incarceration veiled as an indoctrination center, where destined imperial partners were dismantled and reconstructed into compliant marionettes. Elara had witnessed the metamorphosis in her peers. Vivacious, erudite females reduced to obsequious, acquiescent shells. She had vowed resistance. Yet, with each elapsing solar cycle, that oath grew increasingly arduous to uphold. The conveyance trembled as it interfaced with the orbital outpost. Another stride toward Zorath, another toward her gilded confinement. All crew ready for embarkation scrutiny, proclaimed an automated timbre via the auditory system. Overseer Thalira summoned with a clap. "Positions, aspirants. Recall your doctrines." Elara aligned herself with the other initiates, 5 females from disparate realms, each a geopolitical token akin to herself. None dared eye contact. That precept had been instilled promptly. The portal dilated with a pneumatic sigh, admitting a phalanx of sentinels. Most donned the regulation slate livery of the Zorathian Imperial Vanguard, but one elicited a gasp from Elara. He was Terran, human. Towering above his counterparts, his robust physique and formidable stature rendered the Zorathian wardens almost diminutive. His panoply diverged as well, utilitarian outpost sentinel garb, eschewing the elaborate ritual adornments of the Zorathians. Yet it was his countenance that captivated her, resolute mandible, tempestuous slate orbs that surveyed the chamber with tactical acuity, and sable golden locks shorn in Terran martial custom. Those orbs skimmed her, then recoiled, dilating fractionally for a fleeting instant, perhaps 2. Their visions interlocked. An ephemeral spark traversed his visage. Familiarity? Preposterous. By her recollection, she had encountered but a solitary human prior. Nonetheless, an inexplicable resonance lingered. "Formation," bellowed the Zorathian commandant, dissolving the interlude. The human sentinel's mien reverted to stoic neutrality, yet as he assumed his post by the ingress, Elara could swear his gaze flickered toward her anew. "Salutations upon outpost Virex," intoned the commandant. "I am Commandant Vexar. My detachment will convey you to your lodgings. Perimeter Enclave conditioning persists here until the Sovereign's cruiser manifests in a fortnight. A fortnight, 14 additional rotations of liberty, if such could be deemed emancipation." As they processioned forth, Elara traversed proximate to the human sentinel. Sans cranial motion, he murmured, "Lyra." The juvenile sobriquet struck her akin to a corporeal assault. Solely one individual had ever employed that moniker. "Declan," she exhaled in response, abstaining from ocular diversion. A subtle inclination constituted his sole rejoinder ere Overseer Thalira propelled her onward. Inconceivable. Declan Thorne had been a lesser progeny on her natal sphere, her adolescent confidant, until her patriarch unearthed their camaraderie and dispatched him to a martial academy. Irrespective of the lad's lineage, she had been 12 cycles, he 14. She had lamented for lunar phases. Yet here he materialized, a matured male in outpost sentinel regalia, light years distant from origin, regarding her as though he had rediscovered a cherished relic presumed eternally forfeited. For the inaugural occasion in epochs, Elara sensed an emotion transcending despondency. Aspiration was perilous. Aspiration could shatter one swifter than any overseer's chastisement. But as she trailed the cortege to her novel accommodations, she could not quell the nascent ember igniting within her bosom. Declan was present. Abruptly, the cosmos appeared marginally less merciless. 3 rotations transpired ere Elara beheld Declan anew. 3 rotations of stringent decorum drills, carriage rectification, and discourses on Zorathian imperial etiquettes that numbed her intellect and eroded her essence. On the quaternary nocturnal, as she reposed solitary in her quarters, scrutinizing the diurnal eruditions, a subdued rap emanated from her portal. 3 swift percussions, a hiatus, then 2 supplementary, a cipher from juvenescence, when they had beckoned one another to convene beneath the venerable arboreal sentinel posterior to her patriarch's domain. Her pulse ascended precipitously. She inspected the surveillance interface, gratified to observe it inert. The apparatus endured upkeep every tertiary nocturnal, a tidbit she had intercepted from the warden's colloquy. She parted the portal sufficiently to survey. Declan loomed there in civilian garb, unadorned breeches and a contoured tunic that accentuated his sinewy silhouette. Divested of armor, he evoked the youth of her recollections, yet indubitably a virile adult now. Routine maintenance, he proclaimed audibly, brandishing a utility assemblage for any transient observers. Then sotto voce, permission to ingress? Elara retreated, granting admittance. The portal sealed with a gentle exhalation. For an interlude, they merely regarded one another, the intervening annals both immense and inconsequential. "Is it veritably you?" she queried at length, her timbre scarcely perceptible. Declan's tempestuous slate orbs mellowed. "It is I, Lyra, more seasoned, less comely, but unaltered at core." "You are far from uncomely," she ejaculated impulsively, then sensed a flush ascend her visage. His chuckle was subdued yet authentic. "And you surpass the splendor of my reminiscences." The encomium infused her with a warmth the Enclave's thermal regulators could never replicate. "How have you materialized here?" Last intelligence suggested consignment to a Terran martial institution. "I was," he affirmed, depositing his utility assemblage and advancing circumspectly. "I possessed an aptitude for it. Specialized in frontier vigilance. Upon matriculation, I petitioned for deployment in the Orion Quadrant." His demeanor sobered. "I never relinquished your memory, Lyra. Attempts at correspondence were thwarted by your patriarch's agents." "He concealed it from me," she conceded, unsurprised. Archduke Vossari had articulated his disapprobation unequivocally. "When tidings of your betrothal to Zorath reached me, I manipulated every affiliation to secure this protective assignment." His mandible clenched. "I could not permit you to confront this in isolation." Elara's vision blurred with incipient lacrimation. "You traversed stellar expanses for my sake. I would have navigated the entirety of existence." The unadorned assertion fractured an internal bulwark she had erected against optimism, against sentiment. She progressed toward him. He reciprocated, his robust limbs enveloping her in an embrace redolent of repatriation. "I yearned for you," she confided against his thorax, imbibing his aroma, terrestrial and distinctly mortal, a stark antithesis to the aseptic impeccability of Zorathian males. "And I for you." His timbre resonated through her, his digits caressing her platinum filaments, ceaselessly. Upon disengagement, a novel stratum overlaid their infantile amity, a cognizance of one another as masculine and feminine entities. "Time is scant," Declan articulated reluctantly. "Surveillance will reactivate imminently. Then let us not squander it." Elara clasped his palm, directing him to perch adjacent on her berth's perimeter. "Narrate all. How did this odyssey culminate here? What transpired post-departure?" As Declan recounted his academy tenure and ascent through hierarchies, Elara observed his labia, the gesticulations of his extremities. In juvenescence, she had overlooked the expressiveness of his physiognomy, the creases framing his orbs during mirth. "Your chronicle now," he prompted eventually. "What befell the lass who outpaced every lad in the colony and ascended arboreal swifter than a Solarian rodent?" "She matured," Elara exhaled wearily. "Evolved into her patriarch's ideal instrument of negotiation." Declan's digits intertwined with hers. "Not ideal," he murmured tenderly. "Simply exquisite to me." The ambiance between them densified, laden with unspoken affections. Elara was keenly attuned to his pollux delineating circuits on her dermis, eliciting tremors along her limb. Declan, she aspirated, uncertain of her entreaty. He comprehended, inclining gradually, affording ample opportunity for retraction. His labia encountered hers. The osculation commenced delicately, a query, not an imperative. Yet upon her reciprocation it intensified into an avid, fervent communion. His palms cradled her countenance with unanticipated gentleness, even as his orifice asserted hers with escalating ardor. Elara had experienced osculations previously, clumsy, tentative liaisons with progeny of her patriarch's confederates, diplomatic pairings devoid of ignition. Naught had primed her for this torrent of fervor, this sensation of rectitude. Upon severance, both respiring laboredly, Declan aligned his brow with hers. "I have coveted that since adolescence. Why withhold?" she inquired, her digits tracing his resolute mandible. "Cowardice," he confessed with a wry smirk, "and apprehension of your patriarch's retribution." "He might yet enact it," she cautioned, though peril seemed inconsequential. Declan's mien solemnized. "Lyra, my presence transcends reunion. I am here to extricate you." Aspiration blazed luminously, hazardously. "That defies feasibility." "The safeguards? Terrans render the infeasible viable when resolute," he asserted with tranquil assurance. "Yet planning demands temporal latitude, and circumspection is paramount. If suspicions arise," the implicit peril loomed. "When next?" she queried. "3 rotations, identical juncture." He consulted the temporal indicator. "Departure beckons. Systems revive anon." Elara acquiesced, though her essence rebelled against his egress. 3 rotations. He arose, reluctance etched in his posture. Then, irresistibly, he drew her for another osculation. Profounder, more imperative. "I shall liberate you," he vowed against her labia. "Have faith." And notwithstanding the insurmountable odds, the repercussions of fiasco, Elara discovered she did. Elara re-entered her quarters, her labia still effervescent from Declan's valedictory osculation. 3 rotations until reunion. 3 rotations to sustain the veneer of compliant consort and training, while her core pulsated with revitalized optimism. Scarcely had the portal sealed when a mellifluous timbre emanated from the obscurity. "Thus the Archduke's progeny harbors a Terran paramour." Elara pivoted abruptly, her digits clutching her larynx. In the alcove reposed another initiate, Leora, a lithe extraterrestrial with verdant dermis and orbs akin to burnished topaz. Divergent from the others who shunned engagement, Leora had sporadically proffered Elara minor benevolences, an additional confection, a cautionary gaze when Overseer Thalira's temperament soured. "I comprehend not your implication," Elara asserted, striving for vocal stability. Leora's labia arched in cognizant amusement. "The partitions dividing our abodes are permeable, and discretion was not your forte." Crimson suffused Elara's cheeks. "Will you denounce me?" "If denunciation were my intent, discourse would be superfluous." Leora ascended fluidly, approaching. "I desire inclusion." "Inclusion in what?" "Whatever liberation stratagem your Terran devises." Her topaz orbs radiated fervor. "I discern you harbor no aspiration to linger and become the 8th consort of that abomination." Elara's respiration halted. "8th?" The orientation proclaimed the sovereign unwed. Orientation prevaricated. Leora's timbre indurated. "My sibling was his 5th. Communication ceased, 3 annals passed. The connotations chilled Elara's essence. "What transpired with her?" "That is my quest." Leora extracted a diminutive data module from her garment. "I possess Citadel blueprints, protective algorithms, even the Sovereign's diurnal itinerary. My kin maintains liaisons within the Imperial retinue. This intelligence could aid your Terran ally. Elara vacillated. Trust in the Enclave was treacherous, yet Leora's proffer was invaluable. Why assist me? Because Terrans alone have triumphed against Zorathians. Leora's mien softened marginally. And I observed his regard for you. Such fidelity is scarce. Ere Elara could retort, her communication interface trilled with an aggressive dispatch. Both females rigidified. Initiate Vossari, emanated Overseer Thalira's acerbic timbre. Proceed to the directive hub forthwith. Acknowledged, Elara responded, masking trepidation. Discovery already? Leora thrust the module into her grasp. Exercise prudence. Alert your Terran to vigilance. Whispers suggest a Terran sentinel relays intelligence to Zorathians. With that admonition, she egressed as stealthily as she had ingress, leaving Elara clasping the module and pondering true allegiance. The directive hub bustled anomalously upon Elara's arrival. Zorathian functionaries maneuvered with intent, their habitual lethargic motions supplanted by tactical exactitude. An alteration had ensued. Commandant Vexar presided at the focal nexus, his squamous visage impassive amid directives. Upon perceiving Elara, he dismissed his interlocutor. Duchess Vossari, he articulated, his timbre bearing the characteristic resonant inflection of Zorathian males. Your conditioning regimen accelerates. The Imperial cruiser manifests tomorrow? Tomorrow? Elara failed to conceal astonishment. Yet you stipulated a fortnight. Stratagems evolve. His Ophidian orbs disclosed naught. You shall be proffered to his eminence upon advent. The nuptial rite transpires aboard his craft. The environs tilted vertiginously. Tomorrow. No interval for Declan's extrication scheme. No interval whatsoever. An issue, Duchess Vossari? Vexar inquired, his timbre edged with menace. None, Commandant, she contrived, merely overwhelmed by the distinction. Assuredly. He scrutinized her protractedly. Dismissed. Retire to quarters and ready yourself. The Overseer furnishes suitable raiment. Elara inclined in Zorathian deference and retreated. Cognition tumultuous. She must locate Declan. Must apprise him. Pivoting to depart, she nearly collided with an aggressive Terran sentinel. Not Declan, but another Earthling, Major Harlan by recollection. His glacial azure orbs grazed her indifferently ere approaching Commandant Vexar. Sire, perimeter reconnaissance concluded, he reported. No irregularities. Superb, Major. Vexar nodded. And the affair we conferred upon? Addressed presently, sire. Elara's essence froze. Leora's caveat resonated, a Terran sentinel consorting with Zorathians. Harlan? She hastened to quarters, the module a talisman. She must contact Declan, caution him of the expedited chronology and potential quisling. Yet upon ingress, Declan awaited, his mien somber. A complication arises, he declared sans prelude. I am aware, the sovereign arrives tomorrow. Surprise traversed his features. How? Directive hub summons. She consigned the module to him. And I have a confederate, one of the initiates. She bestowed this. Citadel schematics, protective protocols. Declan's brows ascended. Credible? Inclusion in what?